everybody, this is Shawn Hatfield from Groove Studios. Today we're talking about some electric guitar. We're going to look at 4 chords today. One is the standard power chord, the second is the 5 chord, the third is a major chord, and the last is a minor chord. So let's get started. So the first one here is the power chord. Power chords are used in pretty much every type of music except maybe some classical stuff, but even then there's still that type of stacking that we're about to do here, maybe in a different way. But generally, you see this in pretty much every type of music, but a lot in rock music. So we start with our top string here, which is our lowest pitched string, the E, and that is open, meaning we don't use any fingers in our left hand, and we pluck with our right hand, either with a pick or your thumb, whatever you're using. So down here, we're going to play that open. So we make sure that none of your left-hand fingers are touching that string, right? Because otherwise you get a muted sound, which we don't want. So then after that, we are going to take our middle finger and our ring finger and put those both on the 2nd fret, but of the 5th and 4th string. So we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Up top is open, and then like I said, the 5th and 4th string are covered by our 2nd and 3rd finger, both on the 2nd fret. And we want to try and get those as close as we can to the 3rd fret without actually being on top of that metal fret bar, okay? Because if you do that, it'll start to make that sound, which is not a good sound. So we get them both in there, squish them in, and strum straight through just those top 3 strings. So the low E, the 5th string, which is an A, the 4th string, which is a D. All right, and all 3 of them together, like that. All right, so that's a block chord when you play them all together, and a arpeggio or a broken chord when we separate them. Okay, although this is the open E, the next note is a B, and this is another E. So it's on the A string, 2nd fret is a B, and the D string, 2nd fret is an E. So these are actually what we call an octave apart. So when you play them both together, they're the same note, they're both E's, but different pitches. So the next one we go to is the 5 chord, which is actually kind of an altered version of the power chord. It's a little easier to play with the left hand, but somewhat harder to play with the right hand. The reason is because we're only using 2 strings. We keep that 2nd finger down where it was on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, so it's a B note, and we play the top string, the E, at the same time again. And that's it, it's just those 2. We call it a 5 chord because we're using a root, which is E, the 5th, which is B, and then the power chord we were using the octave, like we said. So root and 5th, that's where the 5 comes from. It's referencing the interval. So we actually, if you count from E, counting 1, E, F, G, A, B, that's 5, right? Let's do this hand just for fun. E, F, G, A, B. So it's 5. It's a 5 chord. You start with 1 on that letter E. Okay. If you do a different letter, like if we start with A, B, C, D, E. The 5 in A would be E. If that's too confusing, don't worry too much about it. It's a little bit of music theory. As we work through these lessons, it'll start to make more sense. But just know when you have those 2 notes like that, we hear that a lot, is a 5 chord. Okay, so it's an alteration of that power chord we first did. And up next we have E major. Our left hand is going to be in the same position as the power chord and actually as the E minor chord. So we're going to take that 2nd finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, our 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, and then like before, play that top string open, which means no fingers down on the left hand. And then the big difference here is this 1st finger we're going to put down on the 1st fret, 3rd string, all right? And then we're going to strum all the way through all 6 strings. Alright, so that's a E major, and then I played a bar chord A major up top there for those of you who are wondering. But like I said, again, beginner lesson, trying to stick to this open position stuff. So next we get the E minor chord. The E minor is not any harder than the power chord. It's just what we do with our right hand here that makes the difference. So we go ahead and put our fingers back in that power chord position. Open up top, meaning no fingers on the top string. Second finger on the second fret of the fifth string, third finger, second fret, fourth string. And then these other three strings down here that were muted before, meaning we're not playing them or trying not to, we're going to play all 6 strings of the guitar. So we strum straight through. And that is what you call an E minor chord. A minor chord has a much sadder, darker tone to it than a major chord does. Okay, so here's a little progression with some minor chords. Okay, like I said, solemn, dark, a little bit sadder tone to it. So that's the E minor chord, very important chord. Major chords sound happy for the most part, while minor chords have a sadder tone. Okay, major, minor. And that's the main difference there between the minor and major E chord, is that you lift your first finger on each of them. E minor without the finger, E major with the finger. Alright, so that about wraps up the beginner electric guitar lesson for some E chords. We went over the E power chord, E5, E major, and E minor. So thanks for tuning in. This is Shawn from Groove Studios. We'll see you at the next lesson.